How's it going, guys? Welcome to the C2GS Season 0 Draft League Week 7 versus Seoul. This week we are currently 3-2, and my opponent is 2-4. But don't be fooled by the records. My player is not necessarily worse than me. A good number of his losses could just be attributed to having bad RNG. So just because we have more wins than this person doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be an easy win for us. So we have to make sure we prep well this week, and this is what we brought. First up is War Machine the Charizard. This is going to be our main Volcarona switch, and Volcarona is pretty threatening to our team, I would say, and this is going to be our main way of shutting it down. We quad resist both, or we just resist both of its stabs. We quad resist the bug stab. The most damage that it can hit us with is Psychic. Well, it could have HP Rock, but then that would be specialized for Charizard, and then if he has Quiver Dance, then that's fewer offensive moves that he gets to run. So he's likely going to have Psychic. And a +1 max special attack Psychic does about 35 to 42% to us. This thing can also take on Zarude fairly well to a small extent. A max attack Darkest Lariat does 41 to 49% to us, thanks to our 56 defense EVs. Flamethrower is a good stab move to have. It almost always 2-hit KOs even a max HP leftover Zarude, and it's able to 2-hit KO a max HP Steel-type Silvally. On the side of the screen here, Silvally is shown, and specifically the Steel-type Silvally. In this draft league, all the Silvallis are separated, so you can only draft one of them, and my opponent has drafted the Steel-type Silvally. Rock Slide is going to be our main offensive answer for Volcarona. It is an 84% chance to 2-hit KO a fully physically defensive Volcarona, which frankly I'm not expecting. He could have a lot of bulk invested, but I don't think he's going to go full hard physical bulk. And even if he does, assuming we hit both Rock Slides, we're an 84% chance to 2-hit KO it still. I thought about adding just a few more EVs to reach those benchmarks. If I added 48 more attack EVs and 16 more special attack EVs, I could reach both of the offensive check benchmarks I wanted to with Zarude and Volcarona respectively. But I really, really didn't want to take away from my special bulk because I want to be able to switch into Volcarona as easily as possible, and it could set up to more than +1. So I still want to be able to reliably switch into it defensively. So I figured that most of the time I'm going to be reaching the benchmarks I want to hit, so I'd rather not sacrifice on my bulk for a fringe case. We have Defog to remove our hazards. This was originally, the first draft of this was Toxic, but I think having more hazard removal overall is better, and the things that I want to be toxicking, I'm already 2-hit KOing. Like, I could toxic the Volcarona in theory, but I'm already doing big damage to a Rock Slide anyway, so I think I would rather hit that instead. 32 speed EVs ensures that we outspeed an unboosted Regice, despite having a speed reducing nature. The reason we have a speed reducing nature, even with our speed EVs, is I wanted to have a special defense boosting nature to maximize on that, but I couldn't take away from any of my other stats. I needed all of my other stats to be high, so I had to take away from the speed, unfortunately. I thought about doing a serious nature, but I wanted to have a lot of special bulk, so I couldn't really do that. Next up is Slowbro. This is going to be our primary Garchomp switch-in. We survive 2 fully specially offensive Draco Meteors from full HP. Unfortunately, we die to Earth Power, fully especially offensive Earth Power into Draco Meteor, but he has almost always brought a physically offensive Garchomp. Granted, this could be the week that he changes it up, considering I have such gargantuan physical bulk on my team, but it's hard to plan for everything. I think this is the best I can do as far as that goes, but we have enough special attack investment to always one-hit KO uninvested Garchomp with Ice Beam, and then we just put the rest of our bulk into defense. So we have a fully physically offensive Crunch, does 34 to 41% to Mega Slowbro. Which is good because we want to be able to switch into it and then fire back with a Scalder and Ice Beam. If it gets up a Swords Dance, it can be kind of scary, but we can still live one from full, which is good. We can also switch into most physical attacks from Silvally. A Jolly Crunch does 26% max to Mega Slowbro, and a specially invested Silvally can be quite threatening, as a Thunderbolt will do up to 52%. We pretty much wall Hitmontop, and Adamant Technician Brutal Swing does 25 to 30% to us, and we could threaten it out with Scald. He's probably scared of Psychic, so he'll end up wanting to switch out, which is good because we get to fire a Scald off on something. Scald hits most things fairly well. One thing to watch out for is a potential Water Absorb Quagsire, but there's a lot of things on his team that I'd really like to burn. Something like Zarude, Garchomp, Silvally, Hitmontop. There's a lot of things that I want to burn. It's also an easy 2 KO on a max HP Volcarona, and it does around half to Thundurus, which is pretty crazy. Ice Beam is good coverage for most of his water resists. 60 EVs lets us OHKO uninvested Mega Garchomp, like I said, and it's a 2 KO on an uninvested Zarude and most Thundurus sets, and it also is huge damage on Sigilyph. Psych Up is an interesting tech move that I decided to put on in case Sigilyph gets out of hand. So first off, we wall Sigilyph as long as it's lacking like Energy Ball, Dark Pulse, Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, anything like that. If it doesn't have any of those moves, we pretty much wall it. So the only way that it can kind of screw us over is if it's a Cosmic Power Stored Power set. And even if he's at +6 and +6, a Stored Power is going to do 59 to 70% to us. We can live that, and then we can copy the defense boosts. And then after that, it becomes just a battle of healing, both of us healing and attacking each other, until eventually I get a crit. And I know that I'm going to get a crit first, because Mega Slowbro has the Shell Armor ability, which prevents me from getting crit. And if I'm able to take out, if I'm at like max defense boosts, I'm pretty much guaranteed to win at that point, because again, I'm immune to crits, and I can just tank hits for days. I can I can attack, I can kill everything. If I start to get low, I can just get an easy slack off. So if I end up getting into that situation, then that could be like extremely good for me, right? And this is my best way of countering a Cosmic Power Stored Power Sigilyph set if it ends up getting out of hand. Next up, we have Thor the Zeraora. This is going to be our late game cleaner. We outspeed a Choice Scarfed Hitmontop and Exploud, as well as a +2 Modest Regice. Unfortunately, it's impossible to outspeed a +2 Timid Regice, because like one of the sets that I could be worried about is a Rock Polish set with Weakness Policy, because it's difficult to one-hit KO Regice, and if it's Timid Nature and it gets a Rock Polish off, it outspeeds my entire team, bar none. This week we don't have a Stab. I figured it was too risky because he has so many electric immunities, including the Thundurus, which I really don't want to be healing. But even without that, Zeraora is still really good for its speed and vast coverage options. Close Combat is a 2-hit KO on an uninvested Zarude set, and it's a 2-hit KO on even a max HP Silvally, and it has a pretty decent chance of 1-hit KOing Exploud. Even if I brought this up to max attack, it wouldn't be a guaranteed OHKO, so I decided not to push for that super hard. This also hits Regice really hard. Knockoff is going to be the move that I'm probably going to be clicking the most. It doesn't hurt Garchomp or Silvally that much, but in general, knocking off items is going to be really good. Grass Knot is meant to be a snipe to Quagsire. We have enough EV investment to always OHKO a physically defensive Quagsire. So he's physically defensive, and we can confirm this later on, or if he's specially defensive, we can ship him eventually. But then we're able to just surprise KO it with Grass Knot, basically. Hidden Power Ice is easily the best hidden power in this matchup. It does 61% minimum to Mega Garchomp, and it deals over 40% to an uninvested Thundurus. We are bringing Assault Vest this week, which allows us to tank hits from Thundurus the best. This is going to be our main way of answering it. A Nasty Plot Focus Blast set would be pretty scary, but an unboosted Focus Blast does 35 to 42%, which isn't that great, but it is not a 2-hit KO, which is important, and we survive even a +2 hit. Next up is Shang-Chi, our Hitmonchan. It was a Choice Scarf set this week, and most of his team is in the 90 to 110 speed range, so it was pretty easy to outspeed pretty much all of his team. We have enough EVs to outspeed a Choice Scarfed Exploud, as well as a Choice Scarf Hitmontop by extension. Drain Punch is going to be our main stab move. It's a clean 2-hit KO on offensive Zarude and most Silvally Steel. It's a 1-hit KO on an offensive Exploud set, and it's almost a 1-hit KO on an offensive Regice set, which is awesome. And it's really good damage on pretty much everything else that isn't Volcarona or Sigilyph. Ice Punch, because ice coverage is really good versus him. It does 84 minimum to an uninvested Mega Garchomp, and it's an easy 1-hit KO on an unevolved Mega Garchomp. And it does massive damage to Thundurus and Sigilyph. Rock Slide is mostly for Volcarona and the Flyers. We have a 2-hit KO on Galvantula and Thundurus, and we have a 1-hit KO on a non-physically defensive Volcarona, and this is a 2-hit KO on Regice. Close Combat is a strong nuke option in case we need it. It's a 50% chance to OHKO a max HP, max speed Zarude, and it has a 37% chance to OHKO max HP Steel Silvally. This obliterates Exploud and OHKO's Regice, and it's really good damage on everything else. This could potentially clean late game, or we can use it to get really good damage off mid game. Dawnfan is going to be our rocker, and again, we're not bringing stab on Captain America or Thor this week. He only has one ground weakness in Silvally, and he has 2 immunities in Thunderous and Sigilyph. And overall, I didn't find much use for Earthquake over the other 4 moves I decided to bring. Stone Edge has better coverage. Unfortunately, does come with an unfortunate 20% mischance, but it's able to one-hit KO a non-Shardy Berry Volcarona. It OHKOs an offensive Thunderous set. It's almost always an OHKO on a max HP Galvantula, and it's a high roll to one-hit KO an offensive Sigilyph set. A high crit rate chance could potentially be clutch against a Cosmic Power set, because Stone Edge has a high chance of critical hitting, and of course the critical hits bypass the defense boosts. And we do 75% chance. We do 75% to an offensive Regice. Knockoff, again, is going to be our main spam move. We can remove boots from those Pokemon, the flying ones, which is really nice. So the ones that are weak to rocks, like Galvantula and stuff like that. Not much really wants to switch into a knockoff besides like Silvally and I guess Garchomp. And that Silvally is fearing Earthquake anyway, so that might be risky for Silvally to switch into a knockoff. And it's also a roll to one-hit KO an offensive Sigilyph set. Ice Shard is good priority. It does half to offensive Mega Garchomp. It does slightly less than half to an offensive Thunderous in case that gets out of hand. And it is a little bit over a third to an unboosted offensive Sigilyph. We can also switch into a non-triple axle Hitmontop decently well. And Adamant Close Combat is a 2-hit KO, even ignoring leftovers. And then last but not least, we have Loki, our Klefki. This is going to be our primary Zarude switch-in. The strongest move that it can hit us with is Stomping Tantrum, which is not a 2-hit KO if we ignore leftovers and Reflect, which we're carrying both of. Dazzling Gleam does around half to an offensive Zarude, and especially defensive builds could give us a hard time. I considered giving this Play Rough over Dazzling Gleam because it's slightly stronger, and it offers an attack drop chance in case it's like a bulk up set or something like that. At the end of the day, I decided that the power difference is marginal, and I think I prefer accuracy. And even if he is bulking up, the damage output isn't being, our damage output on it isn't being reduced if we're Play Rough, because he's getting defense boosts if he's bulking up. Dazzling Gleam ignores that because it's a special attack, right? Full defense lets us tank hits from Zarude better, and then we also have Reflect to exacerbate our survivability. We have Defog to potentially remove hazards. Something to keep in mind is Zarude does block this because of our Prankster ability. Dark types are immune to moves that are boosted by Prankster, and even though Defog kind of affects both sides of the field, its primary effect is lowering the evasion stat of the target Pokemon. So if Zarude switches into that, it'll be immune to the move, and thus none of its effects will take effect, and it won't remove any hazards at all. Toxic hits something like Volcarona, but again, something to note is that Zarude could switch in, and Zarude is immune to being toxic by Prankster Pokemon. So yeah, that's pretty much the team. Tomorrow will be the battle, and yeah, thanks for watching.